Hello, folks, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. How is everybody? It's been a good day today. Managed to had a bit of a challenge um, with regarding certain things that I just I don't want to go into it too much, but I just managed to chill and I didn't let things get to me, and I was really happy about that because I like to be able to speak my mind, especially about what's going on in the world right now and the world to come. I just like letting people know. And people love to avoid the subject. People pretend like they don't know what's going on, like they're not fear what's happening, like they can't see what's going on. They don't have a weird feeling about stuff. Anyway, I'm dealing with things better now and I'm just chilling and just relaxing and just kicking back. What will be, will be. You know, the good news is for us. It's gonna happen. So I just finished. I finished the Black Russian. Really sad ending. Like really sad. Really good book though. Really good book. Fascinating read. This is the kind of books I love. Actual historical events, eyewitness accounts, biographies. You know, taken from the archives. What's my what's the best book I've read? Uh, I enjoyed the Black Count the most. I really loved it because I've always loved Three Musketeers. And it was just a really good book. I mean, countries like Britain, they pride themselves on being one of the least racist countries in the world, but I think France would give you a run for your money easily. I don't know. Yeah, I do reckon so. That was a really good book. I actually really I want to read it again. And Napoleon's coming out soon. I want to see that film, but I can tell they've erased us totally from the whole film. Thank you very much, Mr. Scott. You should have stood up for us. You should have put us in that film. You shouldn't have agreed to take on the film unless we were in it. I've served you, sir. I have served you personally. Uh, and it's just same old, same old. 21st century, 2023, and they still can't tell the truth. But you get the truth from the books, you know? You get the truth from the books. So I'm really looking to watch that film, but I'm not going to pay to see it. All right, back to business. Back to business. 1 Corinthians 10. For I do not want you to be ignorant, brethren, that our forefathers were all under and protected by the cloud, in which God's presence went before them. And every one of them passed safely through the Red Sea, and each one of them allowed himself so to be baptized into Moses in the cloud and in the sea, where they were thus brought under obligation to the law, to Moses, and to the covenant, consecrated and set apart to the service of Yahuwah. And all of them ate the same spiritual, supernaturally given food. All of them ate the manna, and they all drank the same spiritual, supernatural given drink, for they drank from a spiritual rock which followed them. produced by the sole power of God Himself without natural instrumentality. Rock following them. uh, uh, that's funny. That's funny. Personally, I just take it as wherever they went, could be in the middle of the desert, was in the middle of the desert. Moses struck the rock, or he spoke to the rock, and water would flow out. Anywhere they could go, it was a rock. A literal rock rolling around in the desert following them. That's up to you. That's up to you. I'm not going to argue with people over these things. Followed and produced by the sole power of God Himself, without natural instrumentality, and the rock was Christ. Nevertheless, God was not pleased with the great majority of them. God was not pleased. Our Elohim was not pleased with the great majority of us. For they were overthrown and strewn down along the ground in the wilderness. Does that remind you of toddlers when you're trying to get them to go somewhere and they're just rolling around on the floor and you're literally dragging them along the floor. Come on! All that just could mean dead bodies all over the place. I think it means both. Now, these things are examples, warnings, and admonitions for us not to desire. Now, I'm going to start again. Now, these things, 1 Corinthians 10 and 6. Now, these things are examples, warnings, and admonitions for us not to desire or crave or covet or lust after evil things and carnal things, as they did. As they did. You could just see it. You could just see it now. The ladies worried about their hair, their nails, their makeup, how they look. You know, people worrying about their clothes. Man's worried about having a fresh trim. Do not be worshippers of false gods, as some of them were. As it is written, the people sat down to eat and drink the sacrifices offered to the golden calf at Horeb, and rose to sport, to dance, and give way to jesting and hilarity. You can imagine somebody bringing a loudspeaker. Somebody's got their phone. If they're still working, if they haven't been knocked out by an EMP. You can imagine people bringing their phones, bringing their smart speakers, playing music. And you know what I mean? But people like us, we're going to have to run around. This is why we do it now. We do it now. We bring people back down to earth. We remind them how they're supposed to be behaving, what's important, how you conduct yourself. Because getting out of Babylon ain't the end. You know? I'm going to be walking around punching people in the throat. Shut up, don't complain too much. Or you put some clothes on. Don't play that music. Don't say this, blah, blah, blah. What are you doing? Come back over here. Are you smoking over there? You know? Constantly running around. This is why we get people to see what's important. We must do it now. We must not gratify evil desire and indulge in immorality, and some of them did. And 23,000 suddenly fell dead in a single day. We must not gratify evil desire and indulge in immorality, as some of them did. and 23,000 suddenly fell dead in a single day. And that's Numbers 16, 28, 34. 28 to 34. Yes, please look that up yourself. Back on track. We must not gratify evil desire and indulge in immorality as some of them did. And 23,000 suddenly fell in a single day. We should not tempt the Lord, the Father. Try his patience, become a trial to him, critically appraise him, and exploit his goodness, as some of them did, and were killed by poisonous serpents. That's why Moses had to do the pole and the brass snake thing, which is like a foreshadowing of Christ, another foreshadowing of the coming Christ, which is all throughout this book. Which they use in the medical industry, claiming the whole serpent around the pole thing. Exploit his goodness as some of them did, and were killed by poisonous serpents. Nor discontently complain as some of them did, and were put out of the way entirely by the destroyer, death. Complaints, complaints, complaints. Zip it, murmuring, running around punching people in the throat. Shut up, shut up. This is why it's so important now. Now. Now these things befell them by way of a figure, as an example by warning to us. They were written to admonish and fit us for right action by good instruction. We, in whose ways the ages have reached their climax, their consummation and concluding period. So it's so important, so important. Deuteronomy 8 and 2. So important. Get people to go back, read these books, read these books, read these books. Everybody, Jew and Gentile, Christians, Hebrew Israelites, everybody go back and read these books. Exodus, Leviticus, Deuteronomy, Numbers. Super, super important. If you hope to be in the kingdom under the one true God, the Most High, Jehovah, Yahuwah, if you hope, you need to get back to what? To what he says, his rules. You need to get back to these. The complaining, murmuring, the destroyer. This is why I just get this deep, deep feeling. And I beg for people. I'm not, as I said earlier, yesterday, in Romans 2 and 20, 2 and 21, was it? Romans 2 and 21 or Romans 2 and 22, one of those, about learning as we go along. I'm not some big teacher. I'm new to this as well, But I get hit by the things that are important, and they stay with me. They just stay with me. A lot of people get to be complaining because we have fixed idea in our mind of how things are going to be. And Deuteronomy 8 and 2, people are just going to turn and say, oh, you said this, you said that, where's our gold? We're supposed to be in the kingdom. What happened to Wakanda? Da, 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 da. You said these Europeans were going to be dead. You said this, you said that. People just there disappointed. This is why. Fix our minds on going back to basics. Seriously. It's better to be, I'm going to say it again, it's better to be greatly surprised than bitterly disappointed. Because that's what's going to bring all this. And that kind of stuff is exactly had us going round in circles. I just can't shake that feeling, which is why I've just been on the case lately. Just constantly pulling people back down to earth. Because everyone seems to be floating away in the clouds with this. I'm not speaking negatively. It just ain't going to be no picnic. And you have to prepare mentally. It's all good news. But some people are jumping on board with us for the wrong reasons. And instead of them knowing Obadiah, instead of them knowing Joel 3, instead of them knowing Isaiah 14, it's more important that they know this. I've said this before in my old videos. That's just the kind of person I am. Prepare for the worst, hope for the best. Because I've seen what disappointment does to people, and this is how they work. This is how the enemy's working. Build up your hope, hope, snatch it away from you. You saw what happened January 6th. That was building up hope and then snatched away. And it's just a repeat pattern. I keep seeing it. I keep seeing it. I keep seeing it. Pay attention. Therefore, let anyone who thinks he stands, who feels sure that he has a steadfast mind and is standing firm, take heed lest he fall into sin. For no temptation, no trial regarded as enticing to sin, no matter how it comes or where it leads, has overtaken you and laid hold on you. That is not common to man. We've all been there. This is why we're trying to give you tips. We're trying to help you. Look, we escaped. We're not doing it anymore. It was a long, hard road. We're encouraging you. Join us. You can do it too. You know, Snoop Dogg, you can quit the weed as well. If you want to. Well, realistically, if they let you. Because we know you're a caged Negro, sorry. Back on the... sorry. Sorry, brother, but we know. We know. They bring you out of the box whenever somebody needs a boost in ratings, whenever somebody needs to look cool. Let's bring Snoop out of the box. Put a little waistcoat on him. Let him do his fajizzle, bizzle, dizzle, dizzle, fizzle, busy. And there we go. That person's now a superstar. That product will now sell. Sorry, off track. Where was I? Sin, no matter how it comes, it leads to, has overtaken you and laid hold on you. That is not common to man. Yes, we've all been there. We're all, yeah. That is no temptation or trial has come to you that is beyond human resistance, and that is not adjusted and adapted and belonging to human experience. It's nothing new under the sun. Ah, grandparents went for it, our forefathers, ancestors, and so on. Sexual immorality is nothing new. The love of money is nothing new. Conflict between the nations is nothing new. Has come to man, that is no temptation or trial that has come to you that is beyond human resistance, and that is not adjusted, adapted, and belonging to the human experience, and such as man can bear. But God is faithful to his word and to his compassionate nature, and he can be trusted not to let you be tempted and tried and essayed beyond your ability and strength of resistance and power to endure. But with the temptation, he will always also provide the way out, that means of escape to a landing place, that you may be capable and strong and powerful to bear up under it patiently. I used to think, I'm so under attack. The world hates me. Then I think, it's the devil. Then I think, it's racism. Well, it is racism to a certain extent, to a certain point. And the world hates me, and then God hates me, and then the devil's after me. But it's all three. It's all of the above. But mostly, the way how I'm dealing with it now, and with broader mind, and learning more, I've noticed the Most High is testing how far you've come. He'll throw a test in your path and sit and watch and see what you will do. See what you will do. See what you will do. And everybody's watching, everyone's anticipating. And then when you fail, everyone's like, everyone's disappointed. People have been rooting for you. People have been rooting for you. This is how you need to see it. This is what helps me see it. But when you actually pass the test, like I see right now, we see it early when we're under attack. Immediately, we're like, and we stop ourselves. And we go and pray. We take a minute. We walk away. We flee from temptation. We know now because we've been back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. As soon as we get that feeling, that's it. God. And then when you do the right thing, when you pass that test, the heavens are rejoicing. Yes, he did it. He did it. It's working. He's getting better. He passed the test. So every time, like I said before, one of my previous videos about winning, every day I wake up in the morning, that's another day. I think, yes, another day. I didn't smoke. Another day I didn't smoke. Another week I didn't smoke. Excuse me, sorry. You need to keep these in your mind. Stay on track, people. I know it feels horrible. It feels horrible. But you will get there. Just hold on to that feeling. That feeling when you know it's coming. Temptation is coming. When something's coming, recognize that feeling. Hold on to that feeling when it's happening. You need to sit through it. Get used to it. Know it. Become familiar with it. And then you'll start to enjoy the feeling of winning, beating it, passing, walking through that fire, denying thyself. Therefore, my dearly beloved, shun, keep clear away from, avoid by flight if need be, flee, get out of there, out of there, get out of there. Stop hanging around with certain people. Get away from smokers. Stop hanging out with the boys if they're blazing zoots. They're smoking joints. You're going to need to stop because you're going to be tempted. Get out of there. Flee. Flee, 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 flee. When you see certain women and it's a total flesh fest, it's like Mayday, Mayday, Mayday. And you just look away. You look down. Cross the road. Get your phone out. Do something. Look away. You learn to do these things early. Therefore, my dearly beloved, shun, keep clear away from, avoid by flight, if need be, any sort of idolatry, of loving or venerating anything more than God. I'm speaking as to intelligent, sensible men. See, I love that. It's so good. I'm speaking as to sensible men. I'm speaking to sensible men. Think over and make up your minds for yourselves about what I say. Think about what I'm saying to you for yourself. This is what I spoke about, like, when I used to speak to people a lot on the street. I used to catch people on their own, ones and twos, never groups. Because once you turn your back, there's always one who's all... What you said really tears their soul apart, and then as soon as you turn your back, they're saying, oh, da, 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 da. That peer group pressure. Remember I was talking about peer group pressure. And then that person who was listening, that person who was actually interested, they get the pressure. They get mocked for listening, for actually agreeing to you, for actually saying, you know what, this guy's talking some truth. The person whose soul was irritated by it, they really attacked that person. I'm speaking as to intelligent, sensible men. Think over and make up your minds for yourselves about what I say. I appeal to your reason and your discernment in these matters. You see, that's just timeless. That's timeless. I love it when you come across stuff like that. It just brings it, leaps off the page. It's timeless. It's beautiful. The cup of blessing of wine at the Christ Supper, on which we ask God's blessing, does it not mean that in drinking it we participate and share in a fellowship and a communion in the blood of Christ, the Messiah? The bread which we break, does it not mean that in eating it we participate in and share a fellowship, a communion in the body of Christ? For we, no matter how numerous we are one body, because we all partake of one bread, the one whom the communion bread represents. Consider those physically people of Israel. Behold Israel after the flesh. Consider those who physically people of Israel. I had one lady say to me, I think she was Ghanaian or Nigerian, she was like, oh yeah, we're spiritual Israel. Oh, crikey. So much work to be done. I had a lady say also, I've heard this 3 times actually. Who are the children of Israel? They're dead. They're dead. They're dead. I've heard that. And then when you ask them, no, no, really, what? Seriously, how do they just die out? Where in the Bible does it say they die out? And then people just switch, and then they say, oh, they're in Israel now. These are black people. These are our people. These are our people. Oh, we're spiritual Israel. The children of Israel are dead. So you see the importance of just bringing it back down to us, bringing it back down to earth, bringing it back down to reality. Because, like, this, it's just one of my favorites. Like Second Chronicles. 7:14. If my people will humble themselves, and I can't just get the feeling that he's waiting for a certain number, especially when you consider 12,000 from every tribe. Maybe that number's not there yet. Maybe a few more people need to wake up. Just maybe. I don't know. All angles. All angles. Maybe I overthink. Maybe I overthink. Consider those people of Israel. Are not those who eat the sacrifices partners of the altar, united in their worship of the same God? Who do I imply then that food offered to idols is intrinsically changed by the fact and amounts to anything that an idol itself is a living thing? No, I am suggesting that what the pagans sacrifice and they offer in effect to demons, to evil spiritual powers, and not to God at all, I do not want you to fellowship and be partners with diabolical spirits by eating their feasts. You cannot drink the Lord's cup and the demon's cup. You cannot partake of the Lord's table and the demon's table. Shall we thus provoke the Lord to jealousy and anger and indignation? Are we stronger than he, that we should defy him? All things are legitimate, permissible, and we are free to do anything we please. But not all things are helpful, expedient, profitable, and wholesome. Just like we're saying in Romans 1 and 2. No. No, this was still Corinthians. This was back in the earlier pages. All things are legitimate, but not all things are constructive to character and edifying to spiritual life. So like I made that example yesterday about drink wine, yes, but don't let the wine take over. Sometimes I say an example by having good TV shows to keep your mind on something when you're trying to keep your mind off another thing. But you have to have a certain mindset because some of these TV shows aren't good. You have to choose your TV shows carefully, and you can't get carried away in these TV shows. It's like some people say, oh, don't watch this, don't watch that, don't watch this, don't watch that, because it's demonic, it's this, it's that. But some of these things have a lot of gems in them. A lot of stuff you can use. A lot of stuff which shows what these workers of iniquities are doing. And it helps you to be able to warn people away from stuff. Like, for instance, Stranger Things, Series 4. A lot of people said, don't watch that, man. That's so demonic. That's demonic. That's demonic. But then, Us knowing, being down the rabbit hole, and we know about the Hellfire Club, there's so many parents who bought their kids that Hellfire Club t-shirt. So if we didn't see that, we wouldn't know it to tell these parents, do you know what, you should not have bought your kid that t-shirt, because we know what the Hellfire Club really is, as wise as serpents. Sorry, off track again. Sorry. No, I am not suggesting that what the pagans sacrifice they offer in effect to demons, to evil spiritual powers, and not to God at all. I do not want you to fellowship and be partners with diabolical spirits by eating in their feasts. You cannot drink the Lord's cup and the demon's cup. You cannot partake in the Lord's table and the demon's table. Shall we thus provoke the Lord's jealousy and anger and indignation? Are we stronger than he? Should we defy him? Are all things are legitimate and peaceful? Yep. Okay, went through that. Let no one then speak of his own good and advantage and profit, but rather each one of the other. Let him seek the welfare of his neighbour. As to meat offered to idols, eat anything that is sold in the market without raising any questions or investigating on the grounds of contentious scruples. So it's getting the butcher, whether it's halal or not, you could just go home, you pray over this food, and that's done. Nobody's more powerful than our Elohim, you know. We could squash that immediately by you going, oh, this was sacrificed to this, and oh, this was blessed by that. You're giving these small g gods, deities, you're giving them power. You're giving it power. Eat anything in the market, any question, investigating on the grounds of conscientious scruples. For the whole earth is the Lord's, and everything in it. In case of one of the unbelievers invites you to a meal and you want to go, eat whatever is served to you without examining into its source, because of conscientious scruples. So them knowing that you're a Hebrew, this is why I keep saying people should know who you are. They're going to invite you around. They should know you're a Hebrew. They should have some lamb there. They should have some beef there, not just pork and prawns and lobster and crab. They should know so that there's food for you to eat. Just like if you know a vegetarian's coming, you're going to make sure there's enough vegetarian food. People should know who you are. When they invite you around for dinner, they should know. Or otherwise, you'll be examining into its source because of conscientious scruples. But if someone tells you this has been offered in sacrifice to an idol, do not eat it, out of consideration for the person who informed you and for conscience sake. Because they know, they're probably informing you you shouldn't eat that. Or they should have told you, they should have known. And they're telling you now. It's like once, one of my Muslim friends from back in the day, late teens, he was eating ribs and he was like, oh, these ribs are so good. Oh, they're so good. I've never had ribs like this before. Why do these ribs taste so good? And the whole room went quiet. And we was like, Ahmed, they're pork. And he was like, and we felt so guilty. We felt so guilty. We felt so guilty. But if anyone tells you this has been offered in sacrifice to an idol, do not eat it out of consideration for the person who informed you and for conscience sake. I mean for the sake of his conscience, not yours. Do not eat it. For why should another man's scruples apply to me and my liberty of action? be determined by his conscience. If I take part of my food with thankfulness, why am I accused and spoken evil of because of that which I give thanks? So as long as it's not abominable foods, doesn't matter if it's halal beef. Just give thanks. Pray over it. Thank you, Heavenly Father. Thank you, Yahuwah. You feed us as you do the birds. Blah, blah, blah. Give thanks. There is it. Done. It's cool now. So then, whether you eat or drink or whatever you may do, do all for the honor and glory of Yahuwah. Do not let yourselves be hindrances by giving an offense to the Jews or to the Greeks or to the church of God. Do not lead others into sin by your mode of life. Make sure people have foods. You know who you're inviting round. I think you get it by now. Just as I myself strove to please, to accommodate myself to the opinions, desires, and interests of others, adapting myself to all men in everything I do, not aiming at or considering my own profit and advantage, but that of the many, in order that they may be saved. Just as I myself strive to please, to accommodate myself to the opinions, desires, and interests of others, adapting myself to all men in everything I do, not aiming at or considering my own profit and advantage, but that of the many, in order that they may be saved. Integration. We are very good at that over here. We are very good at that in France, I'm sure. They are probably very good at that in Portugal. They're probably getting very good at that in Italy, because Italy's very behind on the integration thing. But it's happening now. They now have black Italian celebrities. You saw the last Olympic Games as well. And this is what people are panicking about. But that's where you can see it's an agenda coming. Integration, yeah. So we're very good at that. We're very good at that over here. That's something we've had to do since the 1950s, 60s, 70s. And we learn about that a lot. This is what I have a certain trait where the way I talk, the way I speak, my accent can just jump and chop and change, because my mum, she has a West Indian accent. She could do the Cockney accent, which you would normally just talk to people with, normal working class people, and she has her speaking the Queen's English, well, the King's now, which she would use at work over the phone. And me growing up seeing my mum switch and change like that, I do it as well without even noticing. But you notice I don't speak street slang. A lot of people are surprised that I don't speak street slang, because, I came out of that life. And I haven't been hanging around I don't hang around with people like that anymore. A lot of my friends were all multicultural, and plus I'm too old to speak that nonsense now. It just sounds so stupid when you see grown men speaking like children. Or when you see a guy low riding in his car and he's playing children's music, he's playing that children's grime music, and your hair's going grey, bruv. You're going to pick up teenage children in your car, and you're listening to the same music that they listen to. And you're singing along and blah blah blah. And it's like, how do you associate with this music, bruv? Ugh. Don't let yourself be hindrances, offenses, Jews. So, in relation to our mission, it's tough, but this is this kind of stuff I think about, and it's about just being yourself and adapting, because that's what a lot of our people, that's what a lot of all people need to see, because people do have this fixed thing in their minds of how believers are, how Christians are, how we have to be stiff and wooden, and we need to show the world that you can still be your beautiful, unique, charismatic, individual self and still be a believer. And that's why I like finding people, finding other people who are bringing out this word and just being themselves. And they really got it right here. Like, it's hard. It's hard to navigate like that. It's really hard, but I totally understand what Paul's talking about. I totally understand. I really understand this guy. Seriously. He's hard to understand, but I just keep reading this book. And eventually I will get to the gospel. Hold your horses. But this is what we're doing. Because y'all refuse to acknowledge, accept, dive into Old Testament. To truly understand Yahusha. To truly understand the story, why he came. To understand what he's talking about and why, what happens at the end. We have to get to that point and let you know certain points of certain things. I'm seeing so much and learning so much coming back to the New Testament because I've spent easily 2-3 years in the Old Testament. But coming back to this New Testament after reading the Old Testament, it's changed me so much, and I see, I don't know, it's just giving me, I can't find the words for it right now, but it's changed me a lot. And I really think it will give a lot of Gentiles a greater understanding. And me reading the Old Testament and finding out how we were, mistakes we made and what we did, it's made me understand our job at this time. Especially the fact that Yahusha, he came to demonstrate, I came not but for the lost sheep of Israel. And he demonstrated so much. And like I said the other day, he barely spoke about the Romans. He barely spoke about the oppressors. I shall leave it there. I shall leave it there. But I'm going to ease up a bit now. We'll ease up. because yeah, I think less hammering, less tapping away, less nagging, nag, and let me just go into something universal, something for everybody. Hmm. I don't know. So this is my new saying now. I like it. I like it. Don't like me, like the scriptures. Subscribe to the one true God, Yahuwah, and follow the teachings of Yahushua HaMashiach. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Good night.